Hi everyone, my name is Dee Roussel, also known as Deja, and today we're going to be talking about my best books of 2022. After doing my most disappointing books for 2022 and the DNFs and comparing it to this list that I have, I'm really starting to understand why people think that I'm a picky reader, because this list only has like 5 books and that list had like 20. So I think I'm going to agree with the people that think that I'm a picky reader, because only 5 books out of the 93 that I read were books that I really enjoyed. That's actually kind of sad, but hopefully 2023 will be better. Hi everyone, I just wanted to come on here and say that 3 out of the 5 titles that I have are actually HarperCollins titles, which great. But the union is still happening and I don't want to cross the picket line, so I am going to still talk about the books because otherwise I wouldn't have a video. But I do want to give notice to the HarperCollins strike and leave all that information down below so that you can go support them, sign the petitions and all of that, because it makes no sense why this is still happening. So yes, go support them. But let me get into the best books that I read for 2022. And these are in no particular order. These are just the order that I literally wrote them down on my list. The first book is The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. When I first read this one, I was not really thinking that this would be a favorite of the year for me, because when I was first reading it, like, I wasn't really into the story. I was really confused on like what was going on. But as the more I continued with it, the more I was like, yeah, I actually really like this. And then there was that plot twist that happened that I was just like, oh wow, like this is great. But even after finishing the book, like, I still didn't give it 5 stars. It took me months to really realize that this was a 5-star read for me, because I just kept thinking about it and I kept wanting to get back into it. I think what I really enjoyed about this book was like the writing. Bridget Collins is an amazing writer. I think that the characterization that she did was really great. I really like the aspects of the world in it, and the plot twist really got to me when I read it. I definitely want to try more from this author. I think she has one other book called The Binding, so I will get to that eventually because I really do like this author's writing. But yeah, this was like one of my favorite reads for 2022. The next book that I have is The Last Quintista, and I think this is a upper middle grade YA novel, but the writing in this one is amazing. Like, I really understand why the novel won an award. I was just really immersed in the story. I think what I really enjoyed about this was like the family aspects of it. Like, it's this girl basically trying to figure out like what's going on with like her family, trying to find her mom and her dad, and she's trying to find her family while these people are trying to erase memories of Earth when they were living there. So I thought that this was just a very beautiful story, and I definitely recommend that you check it out. The next one that I have is Heavy is the Head, Kingdom Come. And I don't know how many times I've mentioned this book on my channel, but like, I really do enjoy this author's writing. I feel like she writes tension very well. And when a lot of the books that I've read have not elicited a very emotional reaction from me, like, I really appreciated that this author did. Like, I just kept turning the pages, trying to figure out like what was going to happen between these two characters that say that they love each other, but they're very like toxic towards one another. Like, honestly, sometimes it really pissed me off because I was just like, you know, these characters really should not be together. And even by the end, I did have a few problems because I feel like they didn't really resolve their issues. Plus, there was like this love triangle in it that I wasn't really vibing with. But I read this book twice, once as a beta reader and once as like an ARC reader. And both times I've had overall similar feelings, but I have noticed that like sometimes like who I'm vibing with, like the characters that I'm vibing with and like really understanding, it changes. I just feel like the characterization is very good. Like, I just keep flip-flopping like who I think is right in a situation, who's not, and like I see like the nuance in all of it and why it's causing all this tension, which I really enjoyed in this novel. I definitely look forward to another book by this author. I really cannot wait to see like what she writes next, because I really want more romance books with like the angst and the tension between the two characters and like why they're trying to like make their relationship work. And while I did have a few problems with it, I did overall really enjoy this novel. The next one that I have have is Careless Whispers by Cynthia Williams. And I have been waiting for this book since I read the first one. The first one, I think it was Forbidden Promises. And I wasn't really into that book in the series. It was probably like my least favorite of the 3 that I've read so far. But we were introduced to the female main character in the first one. And the way that they portrayed her, I was just like, you know, I really want her love story, because I just feel like she's really misunderstood. And even continuing into the second book, like it just seemed like everybody was kind of like gaslighting her, putting all these expectations on her. And I was just like, you know, I really want to read her story. So I finally did read her story and I loved it. I feel like this was definitely a emotional roller coaster for this character. I really enjoyed seeing another side of her, and I really did like that the male love interest pretty much like called her out and like saw through all of her walls, and they were still just like a good match for each other. And so of course I gave this like 5 stars. And the last book that I have for my best books of 2022 is Upon a Burning Throne. And this one, I know not everybody's gonna like it, but I absolutely loved this book. Like, I did not feel like this had any pacing issues. Sometimes I'm just wondering like why a book has to be over 500 pages, but this one, I was enjoying like every single page of the 600+ page book. I loved following the characters. All of the characters were unique in their own ways, and the gods and goddesses playing all these roles, and like the battles that were happening and the family drama. I just thought that this book was great and very entertaining. This book is told like an epic, which of course makes sense because it is based off of an Indian epic. I think it's the Mahabharata. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But following these different characters was very entertaining. And there was also a little bit of steaminess, which I thought was very good. And I'm not even like a steamy romance like kind of reader, but like I thought the sensuality of those scenes were great. Like, it didn't feel like it was over the top like erotica, but it also didn't feel like it was like too little. Like, you knew what was happening. Like, the sensual aspects of that was just very good to me. But even like the battle scenes, like there was like weird stuff happening, but I was just very like into it. Like, sometimes it would make like my stomach like roll, because I was just like, oh, like this is kind of weird. And I'm specifically thinking of like one scene, because that scene, I was just like, wow. There was only a few things that I was just kind of like, not really a fan of that. And one of them was just like all of the, like pretty much all of the women were getting pregnant by these gods. And I was just like, okay, like, okay. But I thought that was like one weird aspect. But also I feel like the overall plot was starting to get a little lost in it. Like, you had all these like battles things happening, and yes, like you knew lurking in the background it's because like they wanted this throne, but I do think that like sometimes like it felt like it was getting lost, like that this was a fight for the throne, especially as the kids were getting grown and starting their own families. I feel like that play for the throne was starting to be lost. Overall, I still really enjoy this. I cannot wait to read the next one, and I'm really disappointed that they didn't continue the series, because this would have been a very, very great long book series for me. But, you know, publishing sometimes just cancel books. So that wraps up my best books for 2022. I hope that you have enjoyed the video. Please let me know any of your favorite books for 2022. And if you don't want to leave a comment like that, you can leave a crown emoji for Upon a Burning Throne. But I thank you for watching so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!